Hi, I'm Toby Daly. Please join me for my webinar on the introduction to Saam Acupuncture on healthy seminars.
All right, Toby, how do I pronounce and what is Saam Acupuncture?
Lauren, that was really close. The best I can pronounce it is Saam Acupuncture. It's a monastic tradition out of Korea about 400 years ago.
And I have spoken to people that, like Sharon Weisenbaum, for a lot of people know, she actually introduced us. She's the one who told me about you. And then a few of my colleagues have taken trainings with you and practiced Saam Acupuncture. And they say it's transformed their practice. And I'm curious, how did you get into Saam Acupuncture? Like, were you a traditionally trained acupuncturist from the start, or is this your first introduction to acupuncture?
Yeah, it was my foray into the medicine. I was traveling in India 20 years ago, a little bit more than 20 years ago, and got really sick. I'm not sure you can see now, but about 50 pounds less than right now. So just really lean, really sick. And I was traveling with a Buddhist monk for a while in northern India. And he kept saying to me, oh, you're not doing very well. Let me help you with acupuncture. And my background's all science. My grandfather's a Western MD. And so I knew little pieces of metal wouldn't do anything for me. So I kept refusing to him, like, oh, no, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Really, I wasn't. I was really sick. Diarrhea for 6 months, just really sick. And so eventually I was like, well, he's such a nice man. It won't do anything for me. Maybe it'll hurt a little bit, but it won't really help me or anything. But just to make him feel better, I'll let him give me acupuncture. So that was my foray into acupuncture. I got that treatment from him, and I got up and had a full meal and 3 desserts, something I hadn't been able to do for months. So then my mind suddenly switched around from like, well, that doesn't do anything, to like, how can that possibly work? And that was pretty amazing. So that was my introduction to Chinese medicine.
And how would it look different for an acupuncturist, the Saam acupuncture? Because somebody says they use a lot less needles in this tradition.
The core, like we always learn in school, the 4 needle technique, that was developed by Saam, and usually not attributed to him. Usually they just call it 4 needle technique. But that's the core principle of it, using the 5 shu points and using them in conjunction. So the most famous part of it is 4 needle technique, but there's a lot of permutations on that.
And again, my colleagues who've studied and are using Saam in their practice say that they're seeing results like one treatment, kind of like you had. Is that the norm, or is that kind of like out of the box, not the norm? Because a lot of the chronic diseases we see, we'll treat them for a while with acupuncture. My colleagues who've trained like I have and now switched to Saam are saying that they're needing much less treatments to see these results.
If you can get it right. It's a wandering monk's tradition. So usually the monk would wander along into the village, help everybody out, and then move on. They wouldn't do like a 3-month treatment plan for them or something like that, right? They really wanted to, the desire for this is to alleviate suffering in the mundane field. So Saam developed this technique to give a real shove, towards health with the point combination. So if you get the point combination right, if the diagnosis is correct and the point combination is correct, things happen quickly, much more quickly than I've experienced with other systems.
And so seeing this change much quicker with this Saam approach, they've also said that if you don't get the diagnosis correct, you can also see quick changes as well, but not for the better. Has that been your experience as well?
100% true. Yeah, a lot of people think acupuncture is a little gentle and you can't do any harm with it. But using these point combinations is very strong. Like I was just saying, a shove towards health. But if it's a shove in exactly the wrong direction, you'll know right away. The nice thing is there's a whole bunch of safety mechanisms built into the Saam system. So if you make a mistake, you can quickly counteract it. But with great healing power comes the potential for damage too. So we just have to be really cognizant of that when we use this powerful system.
It's nice though to know that you can see some quick change. And again, talking to my colleagues, they're saying that it's kind of like sometimes you're like, oh, I could go this way or that way, and you go that way, oops, and then now you go the other way, and you get some better results.
Yeah, like I said, it's not like that ambiguous, the results, right? If you make a mistake, it's apparent right away. But like I said, so then it's very easy to correct it with this system too, because it has built-in safety mechanisms. So usually if you make a mistake with just in general with acupuncture, then you just don't get results or something like this. This one you get, tangible results that are not very good, but then you can use that to hone your diagnosis. So that's really helpful too.
I also know that public speaking is not your jam. You actually don't like to do public speaking. However, it's so important for you to teach this material. Who's your teacher, and why is it so important? What's the motivation of having to share this information? Why? Who's inspired you? Who's taught you?
So my teacher saved my life in India. He's a Korean monk, but we were traveling in India together. So he saved my life, and then he gave me something to do with it to help other people using this technique. And so he didn't ask me for anything, trained me so well, but didn't ask me for anything. He casually mentioned that if I ever had the opportunity, I should try and teach this to other people. It's such a helpful method, and it would be great to just help more people with it. So I readily agreed, and in my mind, I thought, oh, maybe when I'm 70, I'll take on a student or two or something like that, and I'll really pass this on. But also, I mean, I really want to share the system. Now it's 20 years with me, and so I've seen a lot of, like you're saying, a lot of amazing results. I've made a lot of mistakes, and so I want to share how to get the more amazing results and try and avoid the mistakes.
What shall people expect in your weekend online course on the introduction of Saam Acupuncture? What should they expect? What will they come away with? Can they start using this on Monday in their clinic?
Yeah, the whole the weekend's geared to using this first thing Monday morning. So it's a deep dive into the fundamentals of the system, so you can start using it Monday morning. I didn't want to do anything just pure theoretical. Of course, we have to discuss a lot of theory, right, to get to the actual pragmatic clinical things. But yes, after a weekend, you have the basis to start using this in your clinic, and then from my experience, right, you can deepen your knowledge of this technique for it's been 2 decades for me, and I'm still learning a lot about the system. So the nice thing is you can get started right away, and then as scholarly as you want to take it.